All right, welcome to another episode of Talking Filthy. I'm here with Justin with 2Js. What's up, dude? Awesome. Yep, another episode of Talking Filthy Police Podcast. We're going to chat a little bit about jiu-jitsu, what's going on. There's some new programs called No Belt Required, some stuff that Mesa PD's doing here in Arizona. Justin's an SME in use of force, defensive tactics, or arrest and control tactics, is I think it's been named. But we're going to have Justin break it down. Welcome, dude.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah.
So we talked a few months ago, and you were working on your brown belt, and you since have been promoted to brown belt in jiu-jitsu.
That is correct.
Cool. Congratulations. Well deserved. Now you're in it to win it, right?
I think
All the way to black belt.
once you stick around at blue belt, you're kind of in it to win it. Most people bail once they get their blue belt, and as long as you stick around there, you'll get to black belt.
Cool. So probably on average a couple more years, maybe.
Yeah,
For you
so I'm on
to get that?
the 10-year plan. I should be at 8 years next month, so somewhere 10, 11 years I should have a black belt, but we'll see.
Yeah, and that's about average, right, for most black belts?
Yeah,
8 to 10 years?
Yeah, I think it's 8 to 12.
Okay. Depends on how much time you can get into the gym and so forth.
Yeah, it's all mat time.
So also got your certification for Arizona Post as a subject matter expert in arrest and control tactics.
Yeah, I haven't got the final word or the paperwork, but yeah, I just finished that up a couple weeks ago.
Cool. You're still out at the training academy doing that and training cops. And has defensive tactics picked up any the training with your agency?
No, not really. It's still kind of in the forefront, but we're not hitting as hard as we were for a little while. I think COVID has a lot to do with that. And there's a lot of new stuff coming down the pike from the state legislature that kind of took precedence over what we're doing. But once we're done with all that, it should fire back up again.
Very good, very good. So talk to me a little bit about No Belt Required. What's going on with that?
Yeah, so no belt required was kind of the brainchild of Mike Pelton. It all stemmed from jiu-jitsu, and there are a couple times where he got into an altercation with a guy with, I think he had 2 knives, kind of snuck up behind him and hit him on the head with one of the knives. And at first, Mikey thought it was me playing a prank on him because I had just rolled up and I saw him and another officer in the parking lot, and some dude just kind of crawls out of the wash and passes in front of my car. And before I get out of the car, guy walks right up behind Mikey and hits him in the head with the knife. Fortunately, the knife was closed, and he didn't do any real damage. But Mikey, quick thinking, used some of his judo skills, jiu-jitsu skills, and took him to the ground, got him handcuffed. And there's another time where we were in a fight for 8 minutes with a guy before backup arrived, and we're just using jiu-jitsu on the guy. We're on a 3rd floor landing of an apartment complex, and we just kind of locked him up and let him walk us all down to the bottom floor where there's more room for activities, and took him to custody there. So that's kind of where the seed got planted. Instead of going to your belt, going to your firearm, just to use whatever you got in your brain and muscle memory, you know. So, it's probably 6-8 months ago, Mike approached me and a couple other instructors and said, "Hey, what do you think of this program?" And basically, we want to get muscle memory with the cops, so they're not going to their gun belt for tools when they don't have to. There's a time and a place, obviously, but with this program, we're going to focus initially on judo, wrestling, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and get cops into the gym and teach them what they need to know. And we don't really have time for that in the academy. It was 40 hours, and then it got extended to 80 hours. That'll take place on the 1st of January. But there's still not enough time.
What's getting extended? Defensive tactics?
Yeah.
For recruits?
Recruit training was 40 hours. That was all that was required. In the training center, we had 56 plus some PT, DT days. So there's a lot more hours where we could rep stuff. But, I mean, as you know, with jiu-jitsu, that's not going to cut it. That'll get you the bare bone basics, but you can't do anything with that little time. So even with the 80-hour extension, you know, going from 40 to 80, that's still not enough time. So this is just a program that can help mitigate issues through training.
All right. So how does it work? Do you target recruits? Or are you targeting veterans? Or how does someone get in that program?
We're actually targeting both. So any cop, I think it's once they graduate, it's $30 a month just so there's some buy-in, you know, because we can give away for free at some point, I'm sure. But if you just come to the class, you're like, it's cool, but you don't really have anything invested, might not stick around. So $30, that's what we need right now, just to get the program off the ground. I'm not the lead in this, but I imagine it might go down later on. It might stay the same. I'm not sure, but $30 is a smoking deal for what you get.
Right, because the average cost of enrolling in a jiu-jitsu is somewhere between $100, $150 a month, right? For
Right.
the average customer.
Yep.
So, does this take place at any particular gym?
So we partnered with Mako Jiu-Jitsu, which is over at Broadway and Harrison, and Broadway Pantano, and great gym. Mike McGregor's running that place. A lot of cops and firefighters go there, and it's just good place to train. And Mike knows a lot, and hopefully with all the other instructors there, we can get some good training out of all this.
So any cop or soon-to-be cop can go and enroll in the gym, $30 a month. You get unlimited access in classes, just like any other customer.
No, I think right now, the way the program is going to work, we've got just a few classes a week, and we're trying to figure out when the best time is for police officers to get in there and more bang for your buck. And instead of an hour, it's 2 hours, and in that, there's you can call it like meditation, but like before and after the class, you kind of just mentally prepare, right? We want to get that out into, patrol and just the police world in general, where you show up and you take a moment and just think about what you're going to face that night, what things you might see, and just get your mind right, because it is a stressful situation that you're going into for 8-10 hours, depending on where you're working. And then right before you get off shift or immediately following that, you decompress and you just kind of take a look at the mental health side of things and just try to get right. You're not dealing with criminals when you go home. You shouldn't treat your family like the people you've been dealing with all shift. So that's going to be part of it.
Yeah.
Is the mental game. And there's judo places that do that where you close your eyes and you visually go through the techniques you're gonna go over that day. Imagine stepping in, imagine getting a collar grab, imagine lifting them up, sliding through with your hips, And then we'll do a warm up. That's going to be the fundamentals, and then we're going to drill just certain techniques. Kind of get from one position to the next, cover the counters, cover the defenses, and just go from there. And it's 2 hours.
So what's Noemi Heights and Eric Height Foundation? What's their role in this program?
So that's basically our partner in all of this. They're a nonprofit. They're amazing, and they've got resources that we wouldn't have access to without their help. And they're just smart people that came together to help police officers, and we're just trying to get on board with that. They've been around for 10 plus years, and they've done great things, and this is just one more thing that they're helping police officers with.
Gotcha. So when does this program kick off?
I don't actually know. We're still in the infancy stages of planning and getting all the instructors together. We had another gym lined up, but they pulled out last minute, so now it's just one location instead of 3. But we're still looking for other gyms to join up, and hopefully within the next year this thing should go live and get everything rolling.
Gotcha. So you talked a little bit about the mental health side of the program, and I think for our podcast, that's kind of obviously doing the job correctly has always been one of my pet peeves, but for us to train and do the job correctly, but also, and this is where I fell short, after you go home, after you've done, and being a cop right now and putting your hands on someone is a big deal, right? A lot of stress comes with that. 20 years ago, you put your hands on someone, you did the paperwork, you moved on. You did your job correctly. If you didn't, a supervisor or a lead veteran cop would correct you and you moved on. Now, you risk the chance of being splashed all over national news, international news, hell for that matter. And so that stress really, I'm guessing, I'm not out there every day, but I'm guessing that stress is really taking its toll on cops, good cops too. 5 years ago, we used to say, just do your job, you'll be fine. When I was with you out at the academy, just do your job, you'll be fine. Do it correctly. That still remains the same, except for there's just an excessive amount of scrutiny, criticism, oversight, and just stress. So jiu-jitsu, going to the gym at the end of your shift, talk about that a little bit, your personal perspective of what jiu-jitsu has done for you for stress management, physical health, mental health.
Well, there's a direct correlation between your physical health and your mental health, right? Stress management boils down to those two things, right? So if you're in good shape and you've got a good mindset, you're probably going to do much, much better than someone who doesn't have those things. What jiu-jitsu has done for me is I go to the gym and it's that release, right? You don't think about the bills you got to pay, the people at work. All you're trying to do is learn a skill, and then at the end of class, you simulate murder, and you're just trying not to get beat by someone, So you want to
try not to get murdered, yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
I don't want to get choked. I don't want to get anything broken, and that's that primal instinct taking over where everything else fades away, and that's all you're concerned about. And once you get back in the car, you've had a good workout, and you've been hanging out with a lot of good dudes, and you're just relaxed. All the other stresses of the world just kind of fade away, and that's the beauty of jiu-jitsu is it puts things in perspective, and it makes things that are important come to the forefront, and the unimportant things kind of fall away.
Yeah, we used to talk, you and I, about confidence and having the confidence obviously in the application of your job, but also the confidence in yourself, which I think is gained through, probably just about every martial arts, but jiu-jitsu in particular, that confidence level. One, you're humbled in the very beginning drastically, and then as you grow through the program, you gain that confidence in yourself and your physicality and your mental state. And I think that, for me, led to a lot of good mental health aspects. Are you seeing that a lot with students in the gym?
Yeah. So, I'm working with some folks on Saturdays, and it's a fundamentals class that I run at my gym, and they stay late. after the class, and they're trying to pick stuff up, and they're getting better. You can see that, and it's just cool to see where someone comes in and they've got an ego because they lift weights. They've always been the big guy on campus, and then they come in and they just get beat up by this 40-year-old brown belt, just a hobbyist, right? That doesn't look too intimidating, too intimidating. But you put them in your place. And on my side as a brown belt, there's still guys that have my number that are low in rank, and that's the beauty of jiu-jitsu is you can be the big fish in a small pond, and then some white belt shows up and just kicks your ass,
Right.
So it keeps you humble and keeps your confidence up too, because all the people that you can beat, and even when you lose, it's not a big deal, right? So your confidence isn't hit. It's just, someone's better than me, no big deal.
Right. I always thought that jiu-jitsu, from my experience as law enforcement and military, I thought jiu-jitsu was the one application where I found getting choked out or getting beat or murdered on the mat was a healthy experience. It sucks.
For sure.
It sucks. You put your head down, but it is a very healthy experience. And we couldn't, I think you and I struggled early on to convince people that literally getting choked out, while there's some concerns about it, I think it's actually really good. One, for the job, and two, for you as a person to know what it's like to panic for a minute, and then how to control that and how to regulate that. And so I think that's the one sport that cops need. Where do you see it going in the future? Is jiu-jitsu here to stay for law enforcement, either professionally and or personally in their careers?
Yeah, I think nowadays, the public, they demand perfection from law enforcement. And whether or not that's fair is really, it's not for this podcast, because we could talk about that ad nauseum. But
right,
if I punch someone in the face, like before, it's just cops doing their job, right? But now it looks bad, and that plays a big role into the knee-jerk reaction from administration and other experts saying, well, we don't need to do that, we need to do something else. And I think jiu-jitsu, you can accomplish a lot with it looking better, right? There's still the same amount of danger involved, and it's not the end-all, be-all, because if I go to arrest someone, they've got bubblegum ears and, their nose is crooked, I know that they're probably a fighter. And if they're looking at my feet, chances are they're a wrestler or some sort of grappler, and the only way to defeat those guys is to sock them in the jaw, So there is a time and a place where I'm going to go to strikes, but I feel like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it looks cleaner, it works better, and at the end of the day, that's what we're looking for, is something that's easier and more effective. Yeah,
and it can mitigate injury to the officer and the individual that you're trying to take in custody. So you could still get injured. You're talking about a physical altercation, but it can mitigate injuries that could be career-ending, or, like you said, where you're just pummeling the shit out of someone, where now it's on camera and you as a cop are probably, let's just say for the sake of argument, you're justified in what you did legally by using that force. However, now you have to endure a year of stress and investigation and potentially losing your job and indictment, where had you applied a technique that you had been training in jiu-jitsu, maybe there's some stress mitigation there that, from that aspect. So it really opened my eyes to that aspect. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's, staying on where this is going professionally, so there's an article that someone sent me that said that jiu-jitsu is better than striking in a law enforcement kind of element. However, the article, I didn't agree with the whole article, because it said that striking takes practice, and you need to consistently train in that, and they said that's why jiu-jitsu is better. And although I believe that striking does take a lot of technique and a lot of training, to say that jiu-jitsu is easier and it doesn't is a complete falsehood.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But if we can get jiu-jitsu into the mainstream of defensive tactics, I think that's a plus for not only the officers, but anyone we take into custody. Because it is the new Little League, and we're going to be up against some monsters here in a few years that they're breaking the law, and, that's the way it is. Here in Tucson, we had a guy just arrested for second-degree murder, and he's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu that I used to train with, So if he wanted to duke it out with the cops, one-on-one, there's no way the average officer could have handled that guy.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's one of those things where I think in law enforcement, and it's funny because I think when we started this journey, 2017, of trying to introduce jiu-jitsu into, or at least more defensive tactics into our agency after a long hiatus of that work, I remember, and I think you were there, we were showing a video of I want to say a Vegas officer. It took a guy down and took his back, and he clearly had some jiu-jitsu training. It was a pretty well-known video. And we were playing it, and one of the cops commented, and this guy's a fucking clown, and I still say that today, but he's commented, he needs to stop doing that fucking jiu-jitsu bullshit and actually just, strike the guy. So I think while that was almost, 4 or 5 years ago, the pendulum has swung greatly, where that's no longer a common belief, I think. Where I'm going with this is, what are the troops, where are they swaying now in 2021, heading into 2022 versus 2017 when we started that journey? What are the average cops thinking about jiu-jitsu and its relevance?
I think the average cop knows that it's important, but they don't do anything to help themselves, right? What we're seeing is there's a move away from defensive tactics and more towards, and I think this is nationally, where cops won't take action because they don't want to put themselves at risk, right? And agencies don't really back them as much as they used to because it's so political, so they're backing away there. As far as jiu-jitsu is concerned, until we really get the backing of agencies, like Mesa PD, for instance, they just instituted a new policy where they're going to have jiu-jitsu training on duty. You can go to gyms, and some of the things you can get out of that is days off. So you get a free day off if you train however long. I don't know all the specifics, but they reached out to us and said, "Hey, what are your policies on this?" And we didn't have it. We've got some classes that I run for free that 7 to 10 people show up for on any given day out of 750 officers. So I think Mesa's doing it right.
Is Mike McClure still running that?
No, he is. I think he's a K9 unit now.
Okay.
So he's out. Keith Carroll, who's an officer up there, he's doing the SME shadow process with me, and he's part of the DT program up there. But I'm not sure who's training.
I mentioned Mike McClure, Mesa PD officer, 20-plus years, MMA fighter, really good guy, very knowledgeable. I always liked Mike because he was very logical in his approach to use of force. And I didn't agree with everything he said, but he was pretty logical, and he had a good program up there, and they were pushing heavy. So it's good to see Mesa, or an agency in Arizona, is kind of shifting towards getting some buy-in somehow, some way, because I think, to your earlier point of, cops realize it's important, but what are the barriers? The barriers are, don't apply any force right now. Just walk away from it if you can. In a sense, I'm being very vague, in that. But, jiu-jitsu's hard, man. It's a lot of fucking physical work for an old fat cop, and also you get injured a little bit. And when I say injured, I never had any catastrophic injuries, but you get some toes bent back in, 90-degree directions and a little bit sore and fingers and so forth. So that kind of, I felt like the hard work, the risk to injury, and then obviously the trends in policing right now are probably the obstacles and barriers, as well as the cost to train, the financial cost. So it's really hard to to break down those barriers. So what is your plan to break those down from your perspective?
Well, hopefully,
obviously this new program.
Yeah, hopefully $30 a month. I mean, that's 2 months of Netflix, and all Netflix really has to offer is, you go look through there for an hour, can't find anything, and you just move on with your day, and you pay $15 a month for that. But really, you got to figure out how to use your time, and if you can't figure that out and you want to do something else with your time, you want to go, drink with your friends and go party, like, be my guest. But when you're in a fight for your life, that's when you realize you're like, oh, I should have gone to those classes. So we offer free classes at the Academy, and some people take us up on it, a lot of people don't. Your priority should be getting home safe at night. And I get spending time with your family, but a couple times a week, go spend an hour at the gym, 2 hours at the gym, and, better yourself. And you'll find that jiu-jitsu will permeate through your whole life and make family life better, make work life better, make everything better, just because you're in a good place mentally and you're also in better shape along the way.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I take responsibility for as a trainer when I was out there as a supervisor, and I wish I would have realized this sooner, was we focus so much on you as a cop doing your job professionally so that you don't get the agency in a bunch of trouble, you don't get in trouble, and that you mitigate the risk to the person you're dealing with. But we missed one big component, I think, really big, and I really think this is a hot spot. I wish and I hope for programs like what you're doing really emphasize. You go home to your family a better person. Not just you're safe, you made it through the day, but you go home and you're a better person around your family. You're not a flaming dick to your family because of stress and anxiety. I think we missed the mark, and not intentionally. It's no one's fault. It's just for years we focused on you as the cop providing a service when we should have been really emphasizing just as much on what these things, physical fitness, mental health checkups, doctor visits, all these things make you better as a person so that you can sustain 20, 25 years in a healthy career and then live on past that point. That's just my take on that. How do you feel about that?
I'm right there with you. I feel like even now with everything that's going on in the world, command staff, nationwide, I don't really think they care too much about the troops. They look at us as numbers, and as long as we're taking our calls and writing our reports, that's all they really care about, And it's going to take a lot to change my mind on that. Someone can come in on Monday and say, no, you're incorrect. We actually do care about you. They're just not showing me in any way, and.
Yeah, I think the actions or lack thereof show that. And I used to think the same way. And I think the person in me is trying to find the good in that, all that stuff. And I just don't think we're a priority as an employee, as a person. We're not the highest priority. When you and I know from studies that we've done in other training programs, if you invest in your employee, they'll invest in your mission, whatever that is. So I think the thing is doomed to fail over and over again because what you said, command staff is not showing the effort, politicians too, not showing the effort that the employees are valuable. That's just my take on that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think our unions are doing well and trying to better our situations, but there's only so much that money can buy, right? So,
on that little tick, since we are kind of on programs, as long as union members are still active duty members of that agency, they are fucking useless. They can have all the skills in the world, they just have no teeth. So I think they're trying to do the right thing, and they're good people. I just think that as long as you work for that agency under threat of removal or sent somewhere else or management rights, it just makes it hard for a union to have some teeth to get things done in this topic where it's talking about mental health and training and jiu-jitsu programs, that's just from all I'm seeing is the agencies that have outside representation, meaning a person that is not employed by that agency, they have some teeth because they can walk right outside, get right in front of a camera, and scare the living shit out of a chain of command and politicians. Where, if your president is a, active duty member, they can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't play much into the union games. I like my union. I like the bargaining unit. They seem to be doing good stuff.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're not capable of doing things. I just think in these fights, it makes it really hard when the chief can just pluck whoever it is and send them away.
Yeah.
That makes it really hard. You don't have the upper hand in that category, which for fitness and mental health, I think that has to be an element of having that union support some way, somehow. Maybe it's international or national groups like the FOP getting involved, but that's a whole nother topic. But
yeah.
Back to jiu-jitsu. So good program. You're cutting out the excuse of financial because it's going to be down to $30 or, maybe less, maybe just a tad more, but way less than what you would normally pay. And if you're not interested in doing it a lot and you just want to get in shape, it's still a good thing. It's still worth it. It's still worth going. Any skills is better than none. Any fitness is better than none. Any mental health adjustment is better than none, in my opinion. So you guys have done a great job with that. If that gets off the ground, are you going to be an instructor for that? Or
so I'll be an instructor. So with my work schedule and then what I do at the other gym, and then home life, it's going to be a tough balance. But if I can get in there a couple times a week to help train other officers, that's my goal. Because the end result is worth it. I'll be long retired by the time what we figure out through this program, what we fix, actually happens. Could be 10 years down the road. We get those officers that have gone through the program. They've gone to joined other gyms, and then they're mentoring other people. I think that in the long run, this is going to be a good program for everybody. Police, command staff, and the community that we serve.
Yeah, so let's talk about just real quickly on the importance. It's real heavy on law enforcement, but some of our, podcast listeners are spouses or children of law enforcement or friends of law enforcement. It's still a good program for anybody, right? Mental health, keeping yourself physically fit, confidence, all the same things apply. Maybe not the no belt required program, but jiu-jitsu in general. And women are kicking ass in these things. Like, I would not fuck with some of these women that are in there, blue belts, brown belts. Like, I watch them and I'm like, holy shit. I mean, flexibility wise, they can move around and wrap you up and tie you in a bow, even as a big guy, really quickly. So if you're a woman, don't be discouraged by that. Some of the most badass people in the gym are oftentimes younger, smaller kids, women, that kind of thing.
Yeah. We've got a girl at our gym named Gabby. It's a girl. She's a woman. And she's an absolute monster. She just got her blue belt, and when it's time to go, there's no smile on her face. She's just there to wreck shop, and she does a good job.
Yeah. Yeah, and so if you come in there cocky, she'll wreck you, and I've seen that, and you have these big weightlifting dudes going, what the fuck just happened? Welcome to jiu-jitsu, dude. Yeah.
The cool thing about jiu-jitsu, it's a different kind of workout, right? Once you figure it out, it's not bad. But when you just go with what you know, which is strength, you're gassed almost immediately. And then the other guy still got 3 minutes left in the round, and the other guy just takes advantage, right? So you're tired, but you got to keep training because that's what the round is for. You want to take off the next round, you got to survive this one, Yeah. And
I remember when we were doing it, and we'd have, I don't know, we used to go about, 5 rounds, 5 3-minute rounds, and I'd get into the second round completely exhausted. I didn't even have strength to pick my arms up going, how the fuck am I going to do round 2, 3, 4, and 5? How the fuck is this going to happen? And you eventually figure it out. You learn to condition yourself to to pace yourself to, it wasn't strength, it was actually technique and all those things that, every white belt learns the first 6 to 8 months really hardcore. So I think there's a tremendous benefit to get in the gym, get your ass kicked a little bit, get humbled, and come out with a lot of good confidence. There are days you're not confident, no doubt about it. And I remember you saying, don't quit, just work through it. You get discouraged a little bit, but eventually you start, okay, hey, I got that down. I'm on to the next thing and I want to learn more and do more. So great program you guys put together. I hope to see it, rise, and I hope to see more cops doing this because I think it's good for them in their career and I think it's good for them. And personally, I stand behind that to this day. And I was, before you got me in the gym, I was a big advocate of jiu-jitsu is stupid.
Yeah.
You got to just slam him in the face with a fist and it's over. And I changed my mind on that quickly. That is not true. I think a well-rounded, skilled person can apply whatever technique is necessary, and I think we got to get that out there for law enforcement so that they can sustain a healthy career. Any parting words?
Get out there and train. It's magic once you get in there. Whether it's no gi or gi, the combat pajamas, like just pick your favorite and get in there and just be miserable until it stops sucking. But you'll thank yourself in 6 months. I guarantee that. Yeah,
it's a good thing to get choked out. It's a good thing to get flattened and get ass kicked. This episode is brought to you by Filthy Pirate Coffee with our good friend Justin with 2 J's, Jiu-Jitsu Master, SME.
What does that even mean?
I hope you have it. Huh?
What does that even mean?
I don't know. I don't give a fuck. It's just some shit I make up. I'm bipolar, schizophrenic, all the above. Everyone knows that. It's part of the deal. Love what you're doing, dude. I hope you have a good career and continue doing. You're the right person for the job. I hope they don't move you. Keep doing what you're doing out there. And if you're a cop, dig down, check yourself, and look inside yourself and find out what's it going to take to survive this job in today's world, and what's it going to take to survive retirement after it's all done. And if you're not doing something physically to help yourself, you're going to risk that chance of dying 2 months after retirement and all your city pension going away. So take the city for everything they owe you for the future. So stay healthy. With that said, that'll end this session of Talking Filthy Police podcast. Hope you all are safe. Have a great week. Justin, my man, take care.
See ya.